Hello once again, audience. So today we're going to be covering Rahu in the 9th house. So let's get started with it because you know it's Monday. And you know what I do on Monday? I go to the beach, I sit at my favorite brewery shop, and I drink the most amazing cherry wheat beer with lobster and fish. So let's get started because I got to get going. Alright, so Rahu in the 9th house, what does it mean? Well, 9th house is what? 9th house is a house of your teachers, your gurus. And it also denotes to teaching of your father. Not necessarily the relationship with the father, but what kind of a value your father instilled in you. Because your very first teacher is the father. But in that case, your mother is also your very first teacher. So, you know, this is where the 9th house people have this misconception about that it represents your father. But actually the 10th house represents your father. Because opposite to that is your mother. Okay, so 9th house represents your teachers, represents higher type of learning, whether it's esoteric, spiritual, or academic. So if you're going for your PhD, okay, that is seen. If you're becoming a doctor, that is seen from the 9th house, not just from the 5th house. 9th house represents your pilgrimage, your long distance travel, but not the permanent travel, a travel that where you will be coming back at a certain point. Okay, and so 9th house also represents your luck. This is why it's in the Hindu text, it's known as the house of Bhagya, meaning that how good your luck is. Because your 2nd and 11th house, that represents the wealth, you know, the money that we all run after these days, it's kind of logged into the treasure chest of the 9th house. So only when you are able to open the 9th house treasure chest, these two houses become active. Okay, so that's why it's important. If it's not the actual house of fortune where you're going to find some thing buried under the rainbow cloud, the pot of gold. No, it's just how good your luck is to achieve these two things. This is why it's very important, known as the, the Lakshmi house. But more so, Lakshmi really means that, you know, house of knowledge, treasure of knowledge. Basically, okay, along with the other things. And what is Rahu? Rahu is that malefic planet that wants to achieve everything very quickly, wants to go around people, wants to pretend that he's in the higher elite with people and wants that prestige. It'll do whatever it takes to be on the higher elite, kind of like that Hunger Games movie. It's kind of representation of Rahu. All the people of Rahu, they're trying to get to that higher point no matter what way possible by shooting an arrow on somebody's ass, okay? So this is what it is. So what happens is when Rahu comes into the 9th house, it wants to be having the privilege to know the higher values for society. What do I mean they want to be privileged enough to know all the ancient texts? Because Rahu, again, wants to be at the top of the things that in the house that it's representing in your birth chart. So here, Rahu wants to be that privileged guru. He wants to be the one to teach you something. He wants to be the one to show you the way to God. Okay, but what happens is, remember, Rahu is a planet that wants to break all taboos, that wants to break all boundaries and set its own path. So in the 9th house, these people are first of all very much into wanting to become a spiritual leader at some point. And it could be one of those spiritual leader who, let's say, teaches you about Ayurveda, but eats meat and drinks, you know, in their home. That kind of a situation can occur, very much so, with this kind of alignment. But Rahu mainly, you know, since it's known as a taboo-breaking planet, Rahu wants to set its own religion, wants to set its own path and tell people, look, I just found something new. I just found this new religion. Don't you like it? See, because they want to be on the top of the pyramid right away, they said the easiest way to do this is for me to create my own set of rules. So, you know, these people can, like, let's say Scientology, you know, it's a whole set of religion. It's a whole new level of religious belief. And whoever started this, I guess it was H.G. Hubbles or D.H. some Hubble guy, or either H.G. Wells or somebody started this thing. I'm not sure about it. Okay, you know, he just started something because he just felt like, I need to create something new. I want to break that boundaries. So I guess they have this god named Zodov who resides invisibly in some galaxy. I don't know. But again, you get my point. What Rahu in the 9th house wants to do, it wants to be privileged enough to know all the ancient, ancient rituals, and on top of that, wants to create their own. And what happens with Rahu, who is rebellious, doesn't really want to listen to the gurus and the father in this kind of a situation. They do not want to take what they're telling him, to take within. He says, no. I know you told me that's good, but I want to create my own set of rules and regulation, my own set of laws here. So they can create a whole new set of belief system that could turn into a negative thing, kind of like a cult, kind of like something like Nazis, And if I actually am not mistaken, Adolf Hitler has Rahu in the 9th house. Now, Rahu in the 9th house definitely takes a person to foreign lands. Especially it could be for a very, very long time, because Rahu is what? Unusual things and foreign things. It loves foreign things. It loves things that are outside of the boundary. Okay, so this is why Rahu can represent, a husband or wife from a different culture if it's in your 7th house or 2nd house. But in the 9th house, which represents long distance travel, and Rahu represents foreign and exotic things, it takes this person for a long time in search of themselves, in search of spirituality. They want to know themselves, and because of that, they travel to foreign lands. Why? Because Rahu aspect is on the ascendant, the self. So from the 9th house, if you count 5 places counterclockwise, Rahu looks at the ascendant, which is your body. So your body is confused because of Rahu's illusion and smoke, and is trying to search itself. It's trying to find out, who am I? And because of this search, it takes a person into exotic lands. And what happens is this person adapts a new culture, a new religion. So they may not necessarily create their own religion, even though they want to, it's their fantasy, but they actually might, instead of a Hindu, they might convert themselves into Christianity or convert themselves into Islam, because wherever Rahu is, it doesn't feel settled there. It wants to experience something outside of those boundaries. Okay, so 9th house represents religion, religious text, following the law, following the righteous path. Rahu wants to go against it. So criminals are also seen from this, because criminal wants to break the law. Rahu wants to break the law of the land and find its own way. So the rebel says, I don't care. I can go in here and rob this person and scam this person. Why? Because if God wanted me to stop me, why doesn't he strike down a lightning on me? And he didn't. That means everybody is for themselves. It's just a very independent universe, they think. And so they justify that within themselves, and they break the law. They're like, hey, there's nobody here to stop me, so let me just break the law. And since Rahu's aspect is on the 3rd house, the relationship with a sibling might be very, unorthodox, might be very unusual. There could be turbulence in relationship with a sibling, because the South Node Ketu is directly opposite of the North Node always. So Ketu is in the 3rd house, which definitely puts like a stamp on sibling. Like this person wants to overachieve on their siblings. It wants to control their siblings. Okay, very much so. Because Ketu is that planet that has already put the flag down, that hey, I've already achieved it. Where Mars, that Ketu represents, hey, he wants to fight for it and achieve it. So Ketu is like, I already achieved it. So it's like, hey, I already achieved ruling over my siblings. Okay, but Rahu's interest in writing and media kind of amplifies. In a better way to say, they write unusual things. Rahu in the 9th house write unusual things. They kind of like Huckleberry Finn, or quote the Raven Nevermore from Edgar Allan Poe. Very unusual things that may not be your everyday kind of writing. Okay, and then Rahu aspects the 5th house of children, of ancient education, intelligence, academic education. So it wants to rule over that too. So in a way, 9th house Rahu can actually make a person an overachiever in their 5th house, in their education. If they want to have children, they want to amplify that those things about the children. They want to have a lot of children. 5th house also denotes to intelligence and creativity. So their creativity comes in a very unusual way. Like if they're artists, they might be the most unorthodox, the most unusual artists out there. Kind of like, what? This is art? You know, that's what happens. But mainly Rahu's aspect is not as strong as its placement in the house that it sits in. So obviously it's definitely doing majority of the 9th house things, but its aspect kind of changes the house placement. So the ascendant, 3rd, and the 5th house are becoming kind of unusual. You know, so want to take a note of that. Otherwise, guys, this was my analysis on Rahu in the 9th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above. Otherwise, if you want to know more about astrology and its myths and misconceptions, check out my link below. Check out my book there, Astrology: The Speed of Light. Otherwise, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.